Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Kevin and today I'm going to take you through the latest news and updates for this 31st episode of SpaceX in the News. And today we're going to start things off with Starhopper, and we'll also go over Starship both in Boca Chica and in WC. But we'll also go over Crew Dragon and Mr. Steven, as well as some recent flights that are still relevant today. And then we'll finish up going over some upcoming flights. Let's get started. Alright, so last we spoke, Raptor engine SN4 had just been mounted on the bottom of Starhopper, but since then it has been taken off and Starhopper is now engineless once again. Now this was kind of expected. Rumor had gotten out that Raptor engine SN4 was just to be used for fit checks, and then SN5 would come in and be the engine to actually make Starhopper lift off the pad here in the next couple weeks. Starhopper was supposed to lift off to about 20 meters on June 11th, but that date has changed now to June 13th, with follow-up days on the 14th and 15th. Now this hot test won't be covered live by SpaceX like they do for all their other launches, at least not that we know of. However, as soon as I start receiving footage, I'll be sure to put up a breaking news episode. Hey guys, this is just a quick little post-edit commentary. I just saw online that Chris B from NASA Spaceflight tweeted out that the tethers are going back onto Starhopper, so SN5 will be static fired first before making any bigger hops. Now that could still mean that both the tethered hops and the free flight hop to 20 meters could be on the 13th, but more than likely the free flight hops to 20 meters will be the following days. So I think it's safe to assume that we can expect SN5 on site here very soon. And while not much else is going on with Starhopper as it awaits this engine, a lot has been done around the launch site. Specifically, more concrete has been poured around the launch pad, and this could be in response to hurricane season. I recently read a fascinating article by Business Insider that goes over in great detail all the hardships that SpaceX has encountered with developing the site for this new spaceport. From not finding hard bedrock underneath the soil to help support the weight of a rocket, to PR issues with the local residents and what exactly SpaceX plans to do once they start launching these massive vehicles. I'll try my best to put a link in the description so you can check that article out if you want. We've also been following along with the structure that SpaceX has been building next to Starship Mark 1. It's getting taller and I'm starting to believe that it's just going to be a big windbreaker so the ship doesn't fall over again. Now this won't be the only Starship that could possibly be affected by hurricane season. The Mark II Starship going up in WC, Florida is getting taller by the week, and this photo was taken a few days ago by local resident Dave in Palm Bay, who was kind enough to email me some pictures. So I want to take a moment to thank him personally for that, as well as the Boca Chica residents who have been sending me footage of Starhopper Mark 1 for the last several months. I appreciate it, and I know all my viewers appreciate it as well. Thanks guys. So if you too live around West Cocoa, Florida, please send me an email of any pictures or film or drone footage that you have of this Mark II Starship. It would be greatly appreciated, and my email is cloudlickerkevin@gmail.com. In other news, NASA has awarded SpaceX for 2 more launches for their upcoming commercial lunar lander program. To be more specific, they awarded $253 million for 3 commercial moon landers, 2 of those lunar missions going to SpaceX for their Falcon 9 rocket to deliver the vehicles. So far, SpaceX has been contracted for 3 of these missions, with potential contracts for 2 more. Now let's revisit that Crew Dragon anomaly that happened about a month ago. Although SpaceX is still leading an investigation with NASA's help, trying to figure out what caused this Crew Dragon explosion, the 2 NASA astronauts that are poised to be the first to fly on Crew Dragon during the Demo 2 mission have come out in confidence for SpaceX's vehicle. To quote astronaut Bob Behnken, in general, the anomaly that happened to us in the past, that's the best kind because we'll figure that one out, and we'll make sure that that's not going to happen again. We're the risk takers, and being informed on that risk is super important as well. Another NASA astronaut to fly on Crew Dragon said that, quote, "This is part of the process. We've all wished that we hadn't had some of these issues, but as long as you've got a good process, a good team put together, you can get through them." And to quote astronaut Hurley, "People to a degree think it's pretty glamorous to be able to go into space, but it's actually like a messy camping trip." And of course, this was said in regard to the anomaly that SpaceX had, just to kind of convey that, yeah, this is a big mess, but it's kind of expected with space exploration. But there's a really interesting piece of information at the end of this Reuters article that says Boeing Starliner's crew is planned for liftoff in August, but that is ahead of SpaceX's debut crew mission carrying Behnken and Hurley. So it seems like NASA's confirming that Crew Dragon 2 will fly no earlier than September. Here's a little bit of fun information for you and bragging rights for SpaceX. In another article by Business Insider, they were ranked as the most ideal employer for engineering students. SpaceX tweeted out the article saying that they're super excited to be number 1. And Elon's other company, Tesla, came in number 2, while NASA came in at number 5. A few months back, SpaceX actually laid off about 600 of their engineers to kind of free up some money for Starship and Starlink. And Elon's also known to push his workers for pretty long hours to meet those ambitious deadlines that he sets. So it's a little bit of a surprise that SpaceX got to number 1 this year, but at the same time, it's a rocket company. That's awesome. So let me ask you a question really quick. Have you ever witnessed someone come back from the dead? Well, you have now, and his name is Mr. Steven. He's back. So to get everybody caught up and on the same page of the story behind Mr. Steven, what happened was in early 2019, the ship left the port of LA on the west coast, went through the Panama Canal, and reached the east coast, where it was expected to do a lot of fairing catches because that's where all the rockets were going to be launching from. Of course, it's trying to catch fairings so that they can be reused because these fairings cost about $6 million. It went out to sea for a mission, the ocean was choppy, it came back with missing legs and a missing net entirely. So for months it's been out of commission, and because of Elon's tweets like this one, we all thought it was a dead program and they weren't going to use Mr. Steven for this purpose anymore. But now it's back with some new legs and a new blue net, which has been testing with some simulated fairing drops. Now during these past few months when Mr. Steven was out of commission, SpaceX has still been recovering fairings. They would just pick them up after they would land in the ocean. This is a problem because seawater is very corrosive and it's hard to clean up. Well, it turns out the current speculation is that SpaceX is going to still reuse these fairings that have been landing in the ocean and getting covered with seawater, but they're going to use them for Starlink missions. And by using it for their own launches, SpaceX kind of reduces that PR risk. So we think the overall plan will look something like SpaceX will launch a rocket, capture the fairings in Mr. Steven's net so they don't touch the salt water, and then they can reuse them for other missions for other customers. But any fairings that do land in the water could be reused for SpaceX's own Starlink missions. And one criteria that kind of backs up this logic is the fact that the fairing used for SpaceX's last Starlink mission had no acoustic protection panels that are used to protect the precious payload from the sounds generated by the rocket when it's launching. These panels will probably be the hardest thing on the entire fairing to clean salt water off of, so the fact that they don't have to be there for Starlink launches is a great thing for SpaceX. And speaking of reusability, SpaceX just beat their own personal recovery record for their Falcon 9 booster that was used to launch Starlink. It took less than 30 hours from being caught by the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You to being horizontal on a SpaceX booster transporter. The previous record holder was Falcon 9 booster 1046.2, which required approximately 40 hours to do the same thing. The author of this Teslarati article, Eric Ralph, said that there should be no logistical reason the company can't fly the same booster twice in 24 to 48 hours. However, later adding that it's probably more realistic for a single booster to be able to be reused about every week. Now continuing on with this reusability theme, the Dragon capsule that launched on CRS-17 a month ago just made splashdown on Tuesday and was recovered by SpaceX, completing their 17th flight to and from the space station and 6th with a flight-proven spacecraft. There is a rumor going around that CRS-18 could be the first mission to the International Space Station that not only uses a reused booster for the first time, but also a Crew Dragon capsule that has flown twice before. The next Falcon 9 launch is scheduled for next week, and it will put 3 Canadian satellites up into orbit. And this is a big deal because it's going to be the most expensive payload that SpaceX will ever launch. The 3 satellites had a budget of $600 million, but more than $400 million worth of upgrades were added, raising the cost up to more than $1 billion. This launch has been delayed for the better part of half a year because the booster that was originally supposed to take it up was a CRS-16 booster that had to make an aborted water landing. Next week's launch will be the first we've seen from Vandenberg in a while, and will only be the second time we ever see a booster land on landing zone 4. And if you'd like to join me, I will be covering that launch right here on my channel. And of course, another upcoming launch is STP-2, which will be Falcon Heavy's third, and we'll be deploying 24 satellites for various agencies, including the Department of Defense and NASA. I spoke about this mission in a couple previous episodes, and I'll make sure to link those in this video. But NASA did release an article that details the satellites that they're putting up on this Falcon Heavy launch. In it, they write that the technology missions on this launch will advance a variety of future exploration missions. And they mean that specifically in regard to the Moon and Mars. And they will be streaming a teleconference live online on June 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're interested, here's the link right here for you. The Falcon Heavy Center Core did arrive at Launch Complex 39A over the weekend. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we got Starhopper's first untethered flight coming up. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell that's somewhere up here. It looks like a little bell, and hit that like button. God bless you guys, and Godspeed.